From its opening moments, Lost established itself as a mystery-driven epic, with one of its earliest enigmas being the haunting concept of the others. Initially, the term applied to anyone not from Oceanic Flight 815, but as the series evolved, the others became a deeply enigmatic group, a sect of island inhabitants acting under a cryptic spiritual mission. The mythology surrounding them was vast, but one figure silently upended it all: Richard Alpert. While he wasn't introduced until Season 3's Not in Portland, Richard would retroactively become the first and perhaps most important other. Far from being a stock character or plot device, Richard's story would fundamentally reshape everything viewers thought they knew about the island, its mysteries, and the very concept of the others. Richard Alpert's origin rewrites the rules of the island. Richard's backstory, fully unveiled in Season SXS of Eterno, revealed his arrival on the island in 1867 aboard the slave ship Black Rock. At first, he was merely another lost soul manipulated by the mysterious man in black who tried to convince him that the island was hell and that Jacob was the devil. But Richard resisted. This impressed Jacob, who offered him eternal life and a job, one that made him the island's intermediary. That moment was more than a character origin. It was the quiet genesis of the others. According to the show's creators, Richard's role as Jacob's go-between marked the beginning of the others as a group. He would spend decades recruiting and guiding new arrivals, people like Juliet, who he personally brought to the island. But interestingly, despite this foundational status, Richard was never their official leader. The others were never as unified as they seemed. Though Richard often appeared to be a prophet-like figure, the actual leadership of the others passed between several flawed hands. He wasn't the decision-maker, just the ever-present advisor. His influence was undeniable, but his control was limited. Ben Linus and Charles Widmore each held power over the others at different times, often making choices that contradicted Jacob's true mission. This internal conflict revealed a deeper truth. The others weren't a monolithic cult acting with unified purpose. They were a fractured, misguided group led by men with partial knowledge and self-interest. Even Richard, Jacob's chosen emissary, misunderstood much of what was happening. When characters like Alana and Bram, true acolytes of Jacob, arrived, Richard didn't recognize them. The supposed guardian of Jacob's will had been left entirely out of the loop. The island's lore shifted, and Richard Alpert exposed the cracks. The more Lost progressed, the more it pulled back the curtain on its sprawling mythology. What began as a suspenseful survival drama evolved into a deep philosophical exploration of fate, faith, and free will. Richard, originally presented as an all-knowing immortal, turned out to be just another pawn, immortal, yes, but just as confused and broken as everyone else. His passive nature mirrored Jacob's own belief system. Jacob wanted humanity to choose freely, without interference. Richard was the answer to this paradox. Someone who could guide but not control, influence but not decide. Still, this detachment led to disaster. Richard saw potential in both Ben and Locke, but his limited understanding left him blind to the manipulations of the man in black. Even with his centuries of experience, he was often wrong. Lost's central myth was doomed from the start. Looking back, Lost introduced the others in Season 1 as a terrifying unknown, only to later reveal them as spiritually misled and organizationally chaotic. Richard Alpert's story retroactively breaks the illusion that the others were ever a cohesive, meaningful group. They weren't soldiers of a holy cause. They were the failed products of a cosmic experiment in morality, launched by Jacob and hijacked by his darker counterpart. Season 6 made it clear, the others were never the enemy. The true conflict was always about ideology, and Richard, immortal, faithful, and eventually disillusioned, was its most tragic casualty. Conclusion: Lost was a show built on ambiguity, but few characters embodied that better than Richard Alpert. Immortal yet powerless, devoted yet deceived, he quietly dismantled one of the show's foundational myths, that the others had a divine purpose. They didn't, and neither did he. By the end, Richard wasn't the answer man. He was the biggest question. And through him, Lost proved that sometimes the mythology you build is only as strong as the man holding it together.